morning, everyone. How are you all? It is good to see everybody. We are starting an hour late. To those who are sort of a little bit confused, I'm sorry about that. We are starting at 9 a.m. this morning Pacific instead of 8 a.m. Pacific on Saturday morning. It is January 22nd, 2022. It's 22222 today. Because I had a chat this morning on the spinning moments with Marcelo Martins he lives in Quebec. He is lovely person, and I was part of the Vogue Knitting Live Marketplace Extras, and they did a half-hour spinning moment chat, and it was really fun, and there were some of you there, so you guys know who you were and that were there. Thank you so much for being there. It made me feel a bit better that I knew that our people were there, so thank you to those who were there. And it was fun. The half hour went like that. It probably needed to be closer to an hour, but it was fun nonetheless. So thank you, Marcelo, for inviting me. That was really great. How is everybody? How are you doing? Welcome to Wool and Spinning. My name is Rachel. I can be found pretty much everywhere as Wool and Spinning. On Ravelry, I am Welford Pearls still. And the website is welfordpearls.com. We talked about changing it to woolandspinning.com, but the thing is that my SEO is Welford Pearls. It's like more than a decade of SEO optimization. So for those who are in tech, you guys know what that means. So it will remain welfordpearls.com. If you are a new viewer of the podcast, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for being interested in spinning and in making our yarns. And for those who are returning viewers, thank you for continuing to watch the show week in, week out. You are welcome here, and I hope that you find a place here in and amongst all of it. It's good to see everybody in the live chat today. My patrons of the community, they keep the lights on week after week. You guys are the ones that are the reason why I'm still here. And I even talked about it this morning on the spinning moments with Marcelo, like, when we were pivoting to the kids coming home and being at home for part of their education. And of course, you guys know I'm nursing as well, and I work in ICU, and I looked at Mike and I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do it all. And I said, like, I already wear a lot of different hats. And he was like, well, let's just see how it goes. And if you need to step back, you need to step back. And I just can't. I just can't. So there's a drive to do this, and it's because of you guys. It's the patrons. It's the Patreon community. It's the Wool and Spinning community. It's the Slack channel. It's you guys. So it brings me a lot of joy and a lot of happiness to be able to be here week in, week out with you guys. So thank you for being you, and thank you for being here. You guys are amazing. So welcome. I'm not going to go through the chat and welcome everybody individually because, oh my goodness, we would be here all day. It is so good to see you guys. We've got people from France and New Mexico, Western Washington. We've got other people from around Canada, Germany. Oh my goodness, it's just lots and lots and lots of places. Oregon, Nunavut in northern Canada, specifically Rankin Inlet. I just saw Rebecca's name, so I know she's here. Scotland, and everywhere in between. So thank you guys for being here. Today's show, I don't have a lot to talk about, but I wanted to share with you some of the stuff that we have been working on, me and the kids. And I'll show you a warp that just went onto my spring, which is just behind us here. I haven't threaded, I haven't slayed, I haven't lashed on yet, but I have wound the warp. I left the yarn upstairs, so I won't be able to show you, but it's just mercerized cotton. And it's white. It's nothing exciting. Diane, thank you for saying that. Yeah, you guys have no idea how much you guys mean to me. And well, actually, you probably do, because I think for many of you who are really involved with this community, you probably feel the same way. And I know there are many in this community who have met very close, if not best friends in the community as a result of all of this. So I think it's very meaningful for many of us. Yeah, so I don't really have like anything like to share with you guys that I've really been working on this week. It's been kind of a weird week. So I'll kind of give you guys a bit of backstory before we get into the show. so for those who are watching this later, if you don't want to hear about our life, just fast forward to the credits. But a few months ago, my left side, I mentioned this last week, my left side started to get really tight. And as you guys know, when I'm drafting, I tend to twist to my right side, but I keep myself all in line. And I talked to my providers about it. And both of them were like, you know, I don't think it's the spinning and I don't think it's the weaving. Like, yes, you're right side dominant, but I don't think that's what it is. They think that actually when that because I'm a side sleeper and I often sleep on my left side, they think I've kind of tweaked my neck a little bit. So it's quite sore, and it's sore to sort of turn my neck any further than this, whereas my right side, I've got full range. So I've just been really trying to be, well, actually not trying, I have been very kind to myself. So I've been spending a lot of time reading for Unit 2 for my OHS, my Ontario Hand Weavers and Spinners weaving certificate that I'm working on. I'm working on Unit 2 right now, which is Color and Design. And I've just been reading my book that I chose for my book review for that unit. And I've been working on some of the other stuff, like putting together my color wheel. So it's all the different threads. You need to find all of the threads that fit in your color wheel to make your color wheel. It's a 12 hue color wheel. So you make your circle, they tell you what to do and how to do it. And then I've just been finding all of my yarns to go in between. So like this one is my my orange yellow. I still haven't found a really good green blue. I'm still looking for one. I'm gonna have to check this back at a different store. This is my yellow green, but you just have to find all these different yarns and then you plug them into your wheel. This is it's not great. It's not a great match, but the selection was terrible. This is the closest I could find to a blue purple. It's very close to the blue, which is kind of too bad. But this was the other blue purple that I found, and it's not quite, it's too purple. So yeah, really, it actually would go a bit better. It needs to go here and then another one goes here. So this would be ideal if they were like that. That would be perfect if I could do two colors, but I can't. So finding all the different things that go in between and all the different colors, it's actually been quite difficult. If you have a massive stash of 2/8 cotton, that might help. But because the embroidery threads, I'm finding them quite difficult to find right now. But I think part of it is because everybody's doing all this stuff. So I haven't been really sitting at my wheels, and I have been weaving a little bit, but not a ton. And it's just literally just to give this a chance to loosen up and to just let go a little bit. So, and then this is so dumb. I can laugh at myself because it's really dumb. When I saw Alyssa on Wednesday night, she often will scrape my traps because they're very, very tight from years and years and years of swimming. So my traps are very tight anyways. And so she was scraping me. Anyways, when I got home, I realized that she had scratched me by accident, and I could feel it when it happened. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I hurt you, but I'm sorry." Anyways, it's on the back of my neck. It's the most annoying thing ever. Every time I go like this, I catch it, and it really hurts. It's the dumbest thing ever. But it's just like been an annoyance all week. And I just am like, it needs to heal. But I keep scraping it. Anyways, I'm kind of laughing at myself this week. It's kind of just been one of those weeks. So it's been busy, but it's been really fun. Yeah, so the literal color wheel, I have to say, so part of the Unit 2 color and design is you do all these different color experiments. I really would encourage, if you guys have never done a color wheel and you've never actually like sat down and done one of these, I've done this before with my mom, and I've done it with paint as well because of my mom's background and what she does. So this has been it's been good, but I'm not learning anything new because I've done this quite a few times. If you haven't done this, I would highly recommend that you do this. And this part just needs to be 1 inch. So you can do whatever radius you want, but just make sure this is about 1 inch. It works really well to be able to see all the colors. This is a 12 hue color wheel. I would highly recommend that you do a 16 hue color wheel, just so that you can see all of the variation of all the color. And the other thing that I would recommend is that you do a red, yellow, blue color wheel, and also a cobalt, yellow, magenta color wheel, and then put them side by side and keep them in your notes so that you can see the differences between the two color wheels. I think for your learning, if you're learning about color, you're figuring out why some colors muddy and some don't, why when you spin certain braids they kind of get messed up. This is a really great way to actually see it in real life. It doesn't take very long, and it's worth the exercise. And I would definitely do the 2 color wheels, the CYM, which is cobalt, yellow, and magenta, and the RYB, which is red, yellow, and blue. So just an encouragement for you guys to do that. And if you want to spend some time doing color, we can do that for one of the months for our Patreon content. I just need you guys to tell me if that would be of interest for you, especially those who are newer spinners and newer weavers. If you guys want to spend some time doing that, just let me know. Kath, it's good to see you. It has been ages. Yeah, so let me know if you guys want to do color one month. We can absolutely do that with the color wheel. Sorry, I keep saying cobalt. Thank you, Dagmar. It's cyan. Sorry. You could make a color wheel with dyeing too. So Ashley, we will be talking about that after the credits. See you guys on the other side. So Rebecca says that would be nice to do more color content. I get it conceptually, but the exercise of assembling it myself would probably be really good for me. I think it would be really, really fun. I know Greta teaches a lot of color and a lot of, yeah, it's a game changer for a lot of folks. So I think Carly's mentioning Deb Menz's book, Color and Spinning. That's a great book. The other one that's really helpful is Colorworks, if you can find that. Yeah, there's Caitlin French has been making these tufted rug natural dye color wheels. Those have been awesome to see. You're right, Kelly. So yeah, if you guys knowing that warm hues mix differently than cool hues really helps. I think if we did a month on color, I think that would probably actually be really helpful for you guys. There have been a lot of questions about color recently because of the breed and color studies on Radnor. So because of it being analogous, and we've had some great conversations on the Slack channel. So let's continue that conversation. That's really, really great, actually. So Ashley had said about you could make the color wheel with dyeing too. So that's what we did this week. So this is one of the things that we were working on this week. So I'll give you a little bit of backstory. So Nora had, so she's in grade 2, and part of the grade 2 curriculum here in British Columbia is they start being introduced to chemistry, and it's very like kind of an overarching, just the idea of it. And they're supposed to do, so what she was assigned this past week was to do an experiment, a science experiment that would either show a physical change or a color change. And there was a bunch of links and videos for her to watch, and she had to also do a journal entry that was about a step-by-step guide of what she did in her experiment, so that Miss LaForce, her teacher, could actually do the experiment. And So Nora was looking at the experiments and the links that were sent, and it's stuff like, put baking soda with vinegar and watch it blow up. Watch the gummy bear launch into the air. One of the other ones was adding some glycerin to a thing of water, and then you can watch how, and then you add sprinkles, and then you watch how the sprinkles move and sort of float for longer, and they don't just fall back to the bottom of the bottle. So stuff like that. And Nora, the problem is that like some of these experiments were great. They're very, very simple household items that everybody has. And I'm just going to move forward because the sun is right in my eyes and I don't want to reach over and close the blinds. But if I move forward, it's not on my face, it's just on my hair. So it'll just be for a few minutes because the sun will move. So, the problem is with these experiments is like for Nora, she's done them all because Mike does a lot of this stuff with them. They get KiwiCo crates. If you guys don't know what KiwiCo is, it's literally like KiwiCo. I'll put it in the chat. If you have kids under the age of, I think it's like 14, definitely look at them. The Tinker crates for the older kids, which is what James gets, are amazing. Worth every penny. And if you have homeschooling dollars that you can put towards them, highly recommend. Anyhow, so all of the science experiments, Nora was like, yeah, and she's watching the videos and she's like, yeah, we were talking about what the difference is between a physical change and a chemical change, but like she knows. So then she's like, I want to dye yarn. And I was thinking, oh goodness gracious, here we go. And like my confidence with dyeing, you guys, is like 0, maybe 5%. I have 5% confidence in dyeing. And I was like, and I said to her, I'm like, well, what do you want to dye? And she's like, I want to dye the rainbow. I was like, oh no. Oh shoot. So we pulled out the School of Sweet Georgia. We pulled it up on my Chromebook and I made her watch the safety video that Felicia does on dyeing it intentional color. I made her watch the safety video. I made her, and actually James watched it too. We did it all together. I made her watch the 4 videos on water, acid, heat, and what was the 4th one? Water, something, acid, and heat. Yarn? I think the 2nd video was yarn. I made her watch those. And then there's one of the videos on the School of Sweet Georgia in that course is the step-by-step, like what you do step-by-step. And I made her watch that. And then from the video, she watched it a few times. Then she wrote her journal entry that had the step-by-step of like what she was going to do, like how she was going to dye this yarn. I set it up outside. I wore my N95 and my goggles and all the things to mix the powder to make some dye stock. So I made my dye stock solutions. I've never gone through, this is so bad, you guys. I have never gone through the steps and made proper dye stock solution before. I just have always felt like I didn't have time. And I know the theory of it. I've taken courses at MyWa and I've done it. I just didn't, I've never made it a priority. And so the kids stayed inside. They watched me while I did it. I used my scale. I did it all. I used the water. I did all the things. And it felt really good. I was like doing it and actually going through the steps. I was like, this is awesome. And then once the dye stock was made, the kids came outside. We had already soaked and pre-weighed all the fiber. And we went through, we just did one at a time. So we started at yellow and we dyed until the water was completely exhausted, which was very fast. And then we added our equal parts red and, the sun's probably getting in the way, red and yellow, and we made our orange. And then we added our red and then our equal parts red and blue. And then we did our blue and then our equal parts yellow and blue to finish off with our green. And the kids were just over the moon. They were so excited and so like into it. I was actually really kind of surprised. I shouldn't have been, but I was. They did all the weighing. They wore their gloves. They wore aprons. They had goggles on. We took the goggles off when we took photos, but this is sort of what it looks like up close so that you guys can look while I'm talking rather than trying to hold this here. We used some, this is superwash Targhee and nylon. It's Katrina's base, and I wound 10 gram mini skeins. And we just, like I said to the kids at one point, I was like, honestly, this might not go well. Like, this might not turn out. I'm not feeling super confident. I don't really know what I'm doing. We were going to use vinegar, but I had some citric acid, so we used the citric acid. I think that really worked well. And we just went through it really slowly, really methodically, and we had so much fun. So much fun. So I have some fuchsia. I have turquoise. I don't have cyan. I have turquoise in my dye stock. So in powder form. So I'm going to make some more dye stock solutions. I'm going to make fuchsia, and we're going to make the turquoise, and then we're also going to make black. And we're gonna start doing some color mixing. And what the kids want to do is actually make a 16 hue color wheel. So I told them we would start with 12. Let's just slow down a little bit. We'll do the 12 and then we'll go from there. And it's been really amazing. And one of the things that they really want to do, because they're doing all this color theory with my mom right now, one of the things that they want to do is they want to make the 12 color the 12 color wheel, the 12 hue color wheel. They want to do that. So that's where you've got the in-betweens, the red, yellow, the red orange, the yellow orange, the red green, green blue. So you've got those extra colors in the 12 color wheel. And if I say anything wrong, especially like Greta Lynn, because she's here today, if I say anything wrong, Greta, can you pop in the chat and just correct me so that it's correct? Just because when I get talking, if I say something that's not accurate, it's just really helpful. So what the kids want to do, and this is what they've been learning with my mom, because they've been doing this with pencil, crayons, and paints in their sketchbooks. What they would like to do is, after we make that 12 color wheel, they would like to do another color wheel where we mix the complements. So they want to do equal parts yellow and purple, equal parts yellow, red, and green, yellow, and then we'll make a second color wheel of 12 that are those like muddied colors. Which I think will be really fun, and I think it'll be a really great way for them to see color. And I have to admit, those are my favorite colors, those real muddy colors that are the mixes of the complements. Those are the ones that I really love. So I'm hoping that in this exercise, I'll come up with a few colors for some yarns that I want to dye for projects that I've got in the back of my mind for this year. So doesn't it sound fun? So I know it's not like directly spinning related, but there are so many people in our community that are dyers, and they are such proficient, good dyers. And I am so envious. And it's something that I want to get good at. It's something that I would like to have, sort of a collection of colors that are mine, that I dye, that I can get what I want. These primary colors that are up on the screen right now, they're a great place to start. The kids love them because they're so primary. They're they're just so unadulterated, basic hues, that of course the kids are drawn to them. They love that. So from there, what can we create? So yeah, definitely a rabbit hole. You're absolutely right, Mary. And yes, chromatic grays. Thank you, Greta Lynn. I knew the word was on the tip of my tongue. So thank you for that, because I couldn't think of it. And it'll be fun to do it with the kids, because then I can benefit from it. Because for example, I finished spinning this week. I finished my chaotic fibers. This is the woodland, white-faced woodland with flax and silk. Sorry, not white-faced woodland. It's merino. Merino, flax, and silk. Right? Yeah. I would love to be able to dye this and have afterwards, dye it like that. These sort of white yarns that I love spinning. I would love to then be able to go to the dye pots and say exactly what I want to do. So there's so much overlap with what the kids are doing, with my mom with their art, what I'm doing right now with the color and design unit, and then being able to bring that back to my making. To have my hand in every single stage of the making process is just awesome. And actually the Olds College Master Spinner program, the first course, the first unit, there is a lot of dyeing. So I love that you guys are still talking about the KiwiCo. I did finish a skein of yarn, and I just actually before the show talking about chromatic grays, I just put this into skein form. So this is actually my hedgehog fibers. This is my merino flax and silk yarn. It doesn't look like it, but I've actually ended up with about 520 yards. It just doesn't look like it. The skein there's no elasticity to the skein. It'll have a little bit of bounce and sproing once I wash it because of the merino. But talking about chromatic grays, this is just a great example of all of this optical mixing in here. You've got the orangey yellow. It's like an orange gold color in there with the blue. I think if you had to say what color this skein was, I think you would probably say that overall it's blue. It's washing, it's not as saturated, it's very muddy and very dull. But the light is making it look like it's lighter than it is. It's actually a bit darker than what the light's showing, but because of the sun shining in. And then there's that sort of mossy green in there, that sort of mossy seafoam green in there. So that mixed with that orange gold and the blue, all of those complement colors that are already muddy to begin with because they weren't pure color on the braid. They weren't particularly bright at all. They were already grayed and washed out. I don't know if you guys remember those photos. I don't know if I have the photo of it here that I can show you. Let me see. I don't. If you guys give me a second, I'll show it to you because actually it would be really good to see what it looked like beforehand so that you can see what it looks like now, because the difference is actually quite significant. Or the difference is not significant because the colors originally, while they were quite bright, the finished yarn is very, very muted, even more so. So you can see the original colors were brighter, but they were still quite gray. And now with the finished yarn, it's very muted, very gray, and very muddy. And like from a distance, it looks gray. I love it. I am sure you guys could sort of pick up on that. There is that mauvey purple in there as well, and you can see how that mauve purple just goes completely gray. Now, the yarn has no elasticity. If you watch my hands, there's no elasticity or bounce to it whatsoever. The overall, like the sort of average wraps per inch is about 16, 18. And what I'm hoping to do with this is to weave with it. So that's why I want to dye my chaotic fibers, because one will be, they'll either be warp and weft together and I'll do something stripy, or one will be warp and one will be weft. I'm not totally sure. I was actually thinking about something really, really simple, like hound design or something, but it might be too complicated for the yarn. I might need something a little bit simpler. So I'm not sure, but the plan is to weave with these two yarns, and 500 yards is more than enough to put with another yarn and have 1,000 yards to play with. That'll be more than enough. So that's all I've done. I'm just going to pause for a moment and chat and make sure chat is here. Yeah, we did. You and your kids did such a great job on those beautiful little skeins. Thank you, Suzanne. They were so much fun. You should have heard the laughter coming from our backyard because I did it outside. I didn't want the kids to be confined in the garage, and it was about 3 degrees outside, so it was more than warm enough Celsius to be outside. And you know, James is almost 10 and Nora's turning 8 next month, and we have crossed into a whole new ball game in terms of what the kids are able to do. They're rational. They know if I'm really serious about something, and if I say to them that they have to stop or that they have to calm down or that this isn't safe, they actually hear me. They don't get so carried away now that they can't stop themselves because their brain is just now. If I say, guys, there's heat, there's acid, there's dyes, you have to stop, they actually stop and go, oh, mommy's like really serious right now, we have to stop. Like they actually, you know, I'm sure there are many of you in the chat that can relate to that. There's been a big shift and a big change. So one of the other, yes, unbraided is out of stock. So Jennifer, we have decided not to do another print run of the book. What is out there is out there. We will only be doing ebooks from now on. If there's enough people who want to do, who want copies, Katrina and I are still talking about it. We may put it up on Blurb that you can order a copy of the book and Blurb prints it, but we haven't kind of gotten that figured out just yet and decided what we're going to do. So yeah, I'm sorry. It may or may not be available. Dorothy, that's a great idea. She's suggesting about the bigger houndstooth, so I could do it over a bigger amount of picks and ends. Because yeah, I think the little one would probably get lost. If I don't dye this, then it won't. I'm just thinking out loud. So the other thing that I have been doing is, and this warped up, oh my goodness, I wound the warp so quickly. And the reason why I'm showing this to you guys is because this is a project out of the Next Steps in Weaving. This is a book by Patty Graver. And I am actually warping up, I've been talking about this forever, the overshot sampler. So Felicia was working on this back in October, and I had a chance to weave on it a little bit and just play with it. And it kind of piqued my interest. And so I've been waiting for my yarn to come. I ordered some 10-2 mercerized cotton on big cones. You can see them down there in the bottom. They're just white because I would like to play around with using some of my hand spun on it as well. So I just chose white because it goes with pretty much everything. And then the other thing that I did, two things. You guys are going to laugh at me. This is so bad. I finally mounted my warping board on the wall. I know. It's been years. I know. Ergonomics, body safety, blah, blah, blah. I know. Mike and I finally just did it. And it's not perfect, but it's good for now. We're going to be painting our room within the next year. So we're going to sort of put it on the wall properly, if you will, once the room is painted. But for now, it's on the wall. And I warped the way that Laura Fry talks about. So I wound my warp. Sorry, I didn't warp the loom. I didn't dress the loom, but I wound my warp the way that Laura Fry talks about in The Intentional Weaver on the School of Sweet Georgia. It's the brand new course that's just come up. And it was really, really quick. So I held the yarns double in my hand. I held two. I always use both hands for warping anyhow, because I had read The Intentional Weaver years ago, and I had always stood in front of the board, but usually I was kneeling because I would put it down on the floor and warp, which I know, ergonomics, I know. And stand in front of the board and do that. So just taking some of her tips, like the reed sitting on the bottom and threading your yarns up so that they don't get tangled. And these big cones, I didn't have anything to put them on, like a Lazy Kate type setup. But eventually I would like to get a big long board that's sort of similar to the reed in length, that has poles sticking up out of it. That's sort of my long term, that to try to get Mike to make me something that I could put cones and tubes on so that I can put them underneath the warping board and have them come up and warp. So that is the warp, and it's only 129 ends. It includes a floating selvage on either side. It was super fast to make, really, really fast. And you can see right in the middle of the photograph there is a brown thread, and that's my counting thread that Laura Fry uses in her when she warps rather than trying to count at the top in the cross. And I've never done that before, and that worked really, really well. So something new. Yeah. The great thing Bridget says about weaving with the colorful handspun is that the yarn is really the star of the weaving. Often I find that plain weave is the best structure for it. Good to know, Bridget. Thank you. So many possibilities. It's almost overwhelming. Hey, no, Zan, I'm not slaying as I wind the warp. So Laura talks in the course The Intentional Weaver on the School of Sweet Georgia. She talks about just using the reed to keep the threads separate so that the yarns come up through the reed. It's just a hack to keep them separate. So you put your tubes or your cones separately down below, and then you have them come up through, and then as you're winding, they don't get tangled. That's all. It's just yarn management. That's it. So, yeah. So that's all I've done. That's it. That's all I've done this week. So let's go to community participation, and I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, so somebody was asking, could you slay as warp? And no, you've got to wind your warp first. So you can slay your reed before you put your warp on your loom, but you can't slay your reed before you wind your warp. You need to wind your warp first. They're two separate steps. One is for the warping process, and then one is for the dressing of the loom. So it gets really confusing because we talk about warping as if it's sort of all one step, and it's not. It's a whole bunch of different steps. So there's winding your warp, whether you do it on a warping mill or if you do it on a warping board, or you do, some people, like I kind of go back and forth, although I am finding that the more warps I make, the more I like using the board. I do find myself going to the warping board more often than not. You make your warp and then you dress your loom. So those are two different things, but we kind of refer to all of it as warping, and I think that gets really confusing. So warping is you wind your warp, or when you make your warp and then you dress your loom. So that's going to be whether you warp front to back or back to front, or whether you sectionally warp. In that situation, you're not making a warp at all. But if you're making a warp, then you're going to warp front to back or back to front. So for me, I put my warp at the back of the loom. I put it on the back apron rod. I put my lees sticks there to keep my cross organized. And then I spread my warp across the rattle that goes at the top, just to spread your warp so it's at the same width as what you are going to be weaving. And once that's all done, then I put the warp on the loom with paper in between. Once that's done and you've got a good length at the front of your loom that you can work with, then you take your threads out of the rattle, you thread your heddles, and then you slay your reed. So that's how I warp. Yeah, and then you lash on or tie on to the front of the loom, and then you start weaving. So yeah, I like it too, Gretelyn. So when I first started weaving, I wasn't a big fan of making a warp, and I felt like I was always rushing through it. And I have really found that the more that I weave and the more I spend time in all the different stages, I like making a warp. I like threading the heddles. I like slaying. I like lashing on. I like weaving the header and doing that initial sampling. I like all of that. I really enjoy it. So yeah. Zan says I want an elf. Some days I do too. Yep. I'm still working on my third twill gamp. So I've done two. I've talked about them a lot, so we'll take a break this week. But I am working on the third twill gamp, and I did release this past week for those who saw it. It's just something I'm playing with. I don't know what is going to become of it, but I released a pre-recorded, so it's not live. I released a pre-recorded vlog called Welford Weaves I don't know what's going to become of it. I don't know if it's going to be a weekly thing or a couple times a month or maybe only when I have something to say. I don't know, but I just threw it in the link in the live chat if you guys are interested in looking at it. But I kind of nerd out at the loom, and I'm sitting on the bench and I actually show you guys some stuff at the loom. So I hope that that's helpful, and that's about my second twill gamp that I've pulled off, and then I was just getting ready to start the third, and I'm almost done the third one, and then I'll pull that one off and wash it and measure and do lots of reflections, and then I think I'll have enough warp to do one more, maybe not, but my final gamp that I'll make, that I'll put away for my portfolio, I have to rewarp and rewarp, so I'll get to that whenever. I'm enjoying the process. Embrace the process. So let's get into community participation. This is Breed and Color Study. This is Jacob. We've got two Jacob to share this week. This is from Nicole. This is just beautifully spun, Nicole. Beautiful yarn. This is she finished her supplementary Jacob braid. So this is a 2-ply for a total of 272 yards. She spun it Z, plied S, so pretty standard for most of us. 30-degree twist angle, 12 wraps per inch, and about 1,100 yards per pound, all on her Lendrum DT. She's really pleased with how well it matches up with her Breed and Color Study Jacob, so she used the kit and the prepared nests, and she's planning on putting them all together in a colorwork vest of some sort. And actually, Sue just posted, I'll show it to you guys next week on the show, but if you're in the Slack channel, Sue just posted a beautiful vest that she just finished. It's all like from the pockets down, it's all color work. It's amazing. So thank you, Nicole, for sharing. I forgot to tell you about my sweater in the background that I was going to talk to you guys about. I finished the sleeves. Yay. This is from Ingrid, Breed and Color Study Progress. Even though knitting is my first love, I wanted to give crocheting with my hand spun a whirl. That's a great idea, Ingrid. I need to do that. Aren't granny stripes and squares just so cozy? Yes. And the natural shades of sheep are so practical in my home aesthetic. I just spun some Radner and it practically spun itself. All of you doing the Breed and Color Study are going to have a blast. Thank you, Ingrid. Jenny says, I haven't wound enough warps yet to find it relaxing. My warps are tight. So it's funny actually, because that's something that Laura talks about in the video, and Jenny and I were reflecting on it. Like when Laura touches her warp on her warping board, it's unbelievably loose. It's even, and the tension is even, but it's not tight. And so when I was winding the overshot sampler, I was really intentionally not pulling the yarn hard, and it made a really nice warp. And I wound it on with no problems. It's probably one of the most even warps I've ever put on the loom. And I have to say, the spring kind of warps itself. It's so easy to wind the warp on, but it really did warp up beautifully. It was really easy. So definitely check that out. This is from Mary Jo for Spindle Spun Stitches. She really enjoyed the show this morning. I think it was from a couple of weeks ago. So much information and inspiration packed into an hour. Even though I don't weave, I love the weaving segments. Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you for saying that. This morning while I watched, I plied cotton that I have been learning to spin. And I think I have finally figured out now that I just need to get consistent. It's pretty consistent. It's pretty awesome, Mary Jo. Beautiful. Love her little spindle. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. It's these little spindles are like actual like spools from like thread. They're just really, really cute. This is from Dion, who's here in the chat today, I think, actually. I saw her name. Yes, there she is. Dion says, how you prep or spin totally changes the look of your fiber blends. I'm spinning a merino camel tweed blend, which is beautiful. The first spindle was Rolex and the second is spun from the fold. And beautiful spindles, Dion. Really, really gorgeous spinning. And kind of perfect for support spindles because that camel is so short. It just really lends itself to spindle spinning. This is from Kat. This is really fun. So this is part of our natural shades along, celebrating just natural shades of any fiber, whether it's cotton or wool, silk. This is spinning for slipper making. It is a pretty rough blend of alpaca. I suspect it was seconds. I'm not sure how to spell this, but or how to say this, but Bershaf, which is rather coarse too. I'll put it in the chat and you guys can tell me how to pronounce it. But it works great for hard wearing. It's for slippers. Next step will be dyeing, which will be really fun because this is being dyed like it's just like this sort of, you know, sheep's gray. So it's going to create this sort of dark, low value, darker color, and it'll they'll just be perfect. They'll be so beautiful. And it looks like this because probably partially because of the alpaca, there is some hue to this, and the coarser wools do tend to have a bit of a luster to them. Did I say hue? I meant luster. So the alpaca and the coarser wool with that little bit of luster in there, it'll be really, really nice. So next step will be dyeing. Then it gets knit into slippers, which will be attached to felt and leather soles, which is a great way to finish off slippers, make them a bit more hard wearing. This is from Julie. Her daughter is so cute. This is almost an FO. My daughter came for a sleeve check and a dog in snow romp. Sounds awesome. No, this isn't dog fur, but it's a Corriedale Humbug that she's been working on since taking the School of Sweet Georgia sweater spin class. That was a course that I had created back in 2018, I think. And then finding all of you. So it just needs blocking, and she wanted it quite a bit longer to wear with leggings. I'll ease out the hips a bit in the block, and she'll like longer cuffs with thumb holes. Onward, thanks for introducing me to Andrea Mowry. Folks, this is her weekender sweater with a few mods. Looks awesome. What a great sweater. And what a great gift for your daughter, Julie. Just awesome. Looks great on her. This is from Kelly. I just love this photo. Oh, so full of joy. This is for Christmas. I made a cowl shawlette for my mum out of a beautiful fractal spun 85% Polworth, 15% silk top that I spun on my electric e-wheel 6. The yarn was around a DK to worsted weight. The thing was hard for me to give up, but I will be making some more for myself. The pattern is across the waters and it really shows off the hand spun. It's beautiful. And your mom looks so, so happy, Kelly. Well done. This is from Lisa, her first Zero to Hero. I did a Zero to Hero, a little one. I got this pretty targy braid from Bumblebee Acres Farm in their fiber club, so I made some fingerless mitts. Beautiful. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing. Yeah, I agree. I love all the projects too, Megan. It is so inspiring, and I love going through all of the threads and all of the stuff that gets posted. I can't keep up. If I don't comment on your stuff, like if it's on Ravelry or if it's on Slack, it's not because I don't see it. I see all of it. And I try to at least leave an emoji, but it's hard to comment on everything. Or like if I'm checking on my phone, if I'm at the pool and I have a couple of minutes to scroll through, I will. But the stuff that you guys make is unbelievable. And the workmanship, I think that's what really gets me, is the workmanship. You guys put so much love and care and attention into your projects. There is very rarely, like almost never, anything that is posted that is not beautifully made. And I that's saying a lot, because you can whip up stuff and it, you know, and you can tell from the photographs that it's not nicely plied, or it's not washed and finished nicely, or the knitting isn't done really super well. The ends, you can see ends poking out. Like there's never any of that. Becca, don't go yet. You're next. This is from Becca. I have to keep talking because she's going to leave. These mitts are finally done after sitting around buttonless for ages. I love the buttons that she chose. The yarn is Polworth Shetland Blend 3-ply, roughly a sport weight, that she spun a couple of years ago. The matching hat is nearly done. So she had posted about 6 or 7 photos on the Slack channel that were all the different buttons that she was thinking for the cuffs. And I just loved these sky blue ones that she chose. And I voted too. I was like, the little sky blue ones. So anyways, have a good dinner, Becca. This is all part of like sample spinning and play, embracing our play, embracing the opportunity to play, not being quite so serious about our making all the time, and sort of taking it a little bit more with some humor. This is from Philippe. I would love to know, Philippe, if you say your name Philippe or if you say it Felipe. That would be really helpful. Because actually one of my mom's dear friends, her son is Felipe. So, and they're Colombian, and I always want to say Felipe, but I'm not sure. So, he's been doing these, and his blending board matches Nora's yarn, which I think it just makes my heart sing. He has been doing this playing with these roll eggs off of his blending board. And he actually just posted the knit samples. So I'll share those with you guys next week. So I'll leave you to be continued. But the 3 bobbins will be plied together, and the other one is going to be chain plied. So he wants to check how consistent his drafting was while spinning the singles, as well as analyze the difference in color transitions between the 2 techniques. So this is just an awesome experiment. We did some of this in the Patreon content, the teaching content a couple of years ago, where I did what different roll eggs, kind of how they spin up. So if you do self-striping versus blended. So I'm really excited to see where his experimentations take him. This is just awesome. And I'll share with you next week his knitting. Again, beautiful knitting. It's unbelievably consistent. It looks amazing. It's fantastic. This is from Vicky. This makes my heart happy. Made a couple more pairs of the Duke City fingerless gloves. I feel like I need to get in on these Duke City gloves. I feel like I need to make a pair to see why Vicky's so obsessed with them. I think it's just awesome. She's making all these fingerless mitts. She's still using her hand spun held double, and she's holding one strand of llama yarn for each pair. The pair on the left, the natural colored marled yarn, to the right, dark gray llama yarn. I think I'm missing a oh no, there's the light color on the one side, and then on the right, so our right, is the dark colored one. She's really enjoying playing with color blending and then knitting. She thinks she could make these all year. That's why I want to make a pair. I want to see what this is all about. So you can see the difference between the 2 mitts. One is the lighter marl and the other one is the darker marl, and you can see how it changes the color of the hand spun. The lighter marled llama yarn with the hand spun makes the that mitt higher in value, so it looks lighter, the colors look brighter. And then with the darker marl, it is a lower value and the colors are more intense, which is pretty awesome to see that side by side and actually see that played out in the photograph in her knitting. It's one thing to read it in a book and to say, oh, okay, that's a thing, but to actually see Vicky go through this experiment and see the difference side by side of these mitts is just awesome. So well done. Yeah. And last but certainly not least, this is from Megan. Just had to share, I finished my combo spin, really happy with how it turned out. I'm not done by any of the final measurements yet, but other than my happiness level, which is high. So great. So she combo spun these 2 braids together and ended up with this final skein of yarn, which is absolutely beautiful. Diana says a mitten is indeed a swatch, and actually I used to say that about socks, because socks are like the perfect swatch. I went into my sock drawer the other day, because you know how I had pulled out that pair of Suffolk socks and they had all those holes in them? I started thinking about it and I was like, I wonder if there's more going on here than just a couple of holes in one pair of socks. So I pulled all of my socks out of the drawer. There's multiple socks with multiple holes. So I'm going to have to go through and wash them all in boiling hot water, just really gently. And I'm going to have to make sure that they're completely and totally dry. And then I'll have to put them in Ziploc bags to keep them safe. So there's 2 pairs that are also damaged. So I think there's some critters in there at one point. They seem to be gone. I can't find anything, but there's definitely something in there. I wanted to, before we've got just a couple of minutes left, I wanted to very quickly mention my sweater. So this is the Yastava. I finished the sleeves. This past week, this is actually what I was working on this week while the kids were at soccer. I finished the second sleeve and I got to the bottom and I realized that I had done something weird with my decreases. And what ended up happening was I ended up with 3 purl stitches for some reason down this seam on the inside. And you don't really see this part of the sleeve, but it looked weird and it didn't match the other side. So I ripped back to the point where I had messed up my decreases and ended up with these 3 purl stitches because it looked like a cavern in the sleeve. Like it didn't follow the waffle pattern anymore under the sleeve. And the decreases on these sleeves are supposed to be mostly invisible. So I ripped back to about here. Yeah, it was this row marker here. And I re-knit the sleeves and I cast them off last night. I also ripped off the collar. So I had mentioned this before, and the reason why I want to talk about this today before we say goodbye is because I wore this cardigan today for the intention of talking about this. So this is the Albini by Orlane Souche. And if you look at the collar, you can see that there's fewer stitches down here than there is at the, which way do I need to go? I need to go this way. At the back of this. So you see how the collar gets bigger back here? And you can see how as it comes around, it stays, you can see all my cupping. You can see the collar follows like your collarbone and it sits just exactly where it should sit with a t-shirt. The thing is that that's all made with short rows. And the way that you do this is you do the button band first and then you pick up the collar after on this cardigan, and she tells you how to do your short rows. So when I was saying to you guys that I just felt like this really severe right hand turn on this cardigan just didn't suit me, it didn't look right on me, I kept coming back to the idea of doing this collar on this sweater. So that's what I'm going to work on this week. So I'll pick up the button band and then I'll go back and do the collar and do the short rows, and I'll follow Orlane's pattern and recreate that. So I think that'll go really well. So I pulled that all out, redid the sleeve, and while I was sitting at soccer practice, and then and that was actually what I've been working on this week. So I just forgot to tell you about it. So yeah. Diane says, I'm so inspired I may ditch the chores today. I hope that you do. I hope that you just spend the day making and feeling really super creative. We've got queries and explorations coming up next. So those who are part of that group, I will see you in just a couple of minutes. I'll start the Zoom meeting as soon as I get off of here. And I hope that you guys have a really, really wonderful week. A little bit of housekeeping before you go. Next week, next Saturday morning is our last show that will be on Saturday mornings. And I'm just trying to figure out when the show is going to be. I thank you for participating in the poll. It is up on Patreon for people to participate to have a say when they would like to see the show. And when they would like to see the live stream be hosted. And based on those results and my own timetable and what's going to work for me, we will have the show going forward, not on Saturday morning. So next weekend will be the last show on a Saturday morning. We need our weekends back. I've talked about it quite a bit. I know you guys really understand. So thank you for being flexible. And until next time, happy spinning, happy weaving. We have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Bye, everyone.